Today we will be stitching on a piece of fabric and learning also how to add beads as well. For this project, I'll be using some burlap. It's red. I will be using 2 fatter popsicle sticks, craft sticks. I have a tapestry needle that is large and not very sharp. I have some string and some beads. All right, the first thing that I'm going to do is cut some of my yarn so that I can use it for my project. I want kind of a long piece because I'm going to double it up, so I'm really going to be folding it in half so I can get kind of a nice long section of yarn. I'm going to cut it with my scissors. And now I'm going to thread my needle. Now to do this, I'm going to line the end of my string up with my finger like this, and then pinch it with my thumb so that when I open and close my fingers, you can see it popping out right there. Now I'm going to place the opening of my needle right where the string's going to pop up, and I push the needle down over the tip of the string. And you can see it's gone through the needle, so I just have to pull it through. Like that. In case you missed it, I'm going to do it again. So I put it on my finger, I pinch it with my thumb, and I open and close them so you can see the thread poking through. Now I'm going to take my needle and put it right over that opening and push the string through, and then grab the end. Once I have it on my needle, I'm going to put my needle to about the halfway mark on the string. Next, I'm going to get the 2 ends of the string and put them together so I can tie a knot. All right, I have the 2 ends here, you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the 2 ends together and wrap them around 2 fingers like that. Then I'm going to put the end through the hole that I just made in the string. And there you see a knot. If I pull it tight, I'll have a nice knot. All right, just in case you missed it, let me show you again. I've got 2 fingers wrapping the strings around both, and then I'm going to put them through that hole in the center to make a knot. Now, before tightening my knot all the way, I want to kind of push it over so that it's close to the end of my 2 strings. I want it close to the end but not go off the end. All right, there's my knot. Now we are ready to start stitching. So I'm going to pull my needle so that it's nice and tight. I've got my knot on one end and my needle on the other end, and now I'm ready to start. All right, I'm going to start in the corner of my fabric, and I don't want to get too close to the edge, so I'm leaving a little bit of space around, and I'm going to start from the back and bring my needle through and then pull it all the way in. Now, if it looks like it's getting stuck, just try to kind of pull on each of your strings on the front so that you have a nice tight stitch. All right, now I'm going to make some stitches that go across my fabric. And it really doesn't matter which corner you start in. If you'd rather start on the left and go from left to right like you would write, that's fine too. I started on the right and I have made my first stitch. Now I'm going to come back up kind of close to where my last stitch ended, and I'm going to go all the way up, pull tight, and then go back down and pull all the way down until that's a nice tight stitch. I'm going to keep on doing this, so go all the way up and then go, oh, but I have a knot. Oh no. If this happens to you, you can just kind of pull gently until you get the string to untangle, and then continue pulling it all the way through. It's important to check to make sure that we're getting it through the entire time. Now I'm going to go back through to get my next stitch done. You can see I have 3 nice, neat stitches. Okay, so I fast forwarded a bit. I have a whole row of stitches. Yes, you can see they're nice and neat. My string is nice and tight all the way across. Now I'm ready to start doing something else down below. For my next row, I'm going to maybe do something a little bit different. I want to try something else. So instead of going just straight across, maybe I'm going to try for more of like a zigzag pattern. So I'm going to go down in a diagonal line, and then I'll go across and then back up in a diagonal line. You guys can get really creative with this. There are a lot of different directions you can go with your stitches and a lot of different patterns you make. This is just what I decided to do for my next row. I want to go down in a diagonal line, then across, then up in a diagonal line. Just for fun. Making sure to pull my string all the way through each time. So you see it looks kind of like a zigzag. Now, I think it might be fun to add a bead. So I'm going to choose a bead and I'm going to put it on my needle and then push it all the way down to where my fabric is, so it's pretty close. And then I'm going to go back down through my fabric so that the bead is now on that stitch. Then I can keep on stitching and my bead should stay right there where my stitch is holding it in place. I'm going to continue with my zigzag pattern all the way to the other end, and that will be my next row in my design. I'm making sure to pull my string all the way through and then pushing it back through the back, making nice, neat stitches. You can see the back is nice and neat, the front is nice and neat. My bead is staying right where I want it. All right, you can see I have my first row, my second row. I added a row of beads. And now I've even added some other things. It almost kind of looks like it says wow. Do you see that? 2 W's with maybe those 2 beads as the O in the middle. Now I'm getting kind of shorter on my string here, so I think I'm going to add a couple more stitches to make a new row. And then I wanted to show you what happens when we run out of string, because we have to make sure to tie it off before we start adding another string. So I'm getting close here. I have some string left. If I go too close, then it'll be hard to tie. So here's a good stopping point. Now I could just do a knot by putting my needle through the hole and tying a knot like that. Although sometimes that's kind of hard if your needle's too long. So I'm going to show you another way that you can tie a knot as well. I'm going to go ahead and cut my string right by where my needle is so that I have lots of string to work with. Got this nice big piece, and I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. So I'm going to make a little loop like this with my string, and then I want the end to go through that hole right there. So I'm going to go ahead and push the end of my strings through that hole, and now I have a knot. And I can push the knot down towards my fabric. I want to try to get it as close to my burlap as I can. So if I just pull it tight, it won't be super close. You kind of have to push that knot closer to the fabric as you tighten it. And there you have it. Now I could stop there and just trim it, but I think I'm going to add another knot just for fun. So I have my loop. I want my ends to go through that hole right there. I'm going to pull it tight, and as I do it, I want to get it as close to my burlap as possible. So I get it nice and close. Now I've got a nice knot that's right next to my fabric. Now I can trim some of the extra string off. I don't want to trim it super close to the knot. It's okay to leave a little bit of extra. And there you go. My first string is on there. It's knotted, so it's not going anywhere. Now I'm going to start a new string. I'm going to get my string I'm going to cut a nice long piece with my scissors so it'll last kind of a long time. I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle again by putting my thread right between my two fingers, pinching and then sticking my needle hole right over there. Oh no, it didn't go through this time. No worries, I will try again. Pinch my yarn, put it right over the hole. This time it went through, so I can pull it through. And then remember, I have to tie a knot again. Using both ends, I'm wrapping them around my fingers, sticking them through the hole, and then pulling so that it gets really close to the end. Got it. All right, I'm gonna stretch it out so that my needle's on the end, and now I can just pick up right where I left off. Make sure you start from the back so that knot will be on the back of your project, and now you can keep on stitching. I'm going to continue with this row. I want to add a couple more stitches. I decided to do another straight row. And I'm going to go all the way across my fabric. Making sure to pull my string tight each time. And remember, if it gets jumbled up, just try to lightly or gently kind of pull the pieces apart so that it untangles. Okay, there you have it. I've added some more designs. I've added some beads. Now I am done and I need to tie off the end of my string. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my string, still leaving me plenty of room to tie a knot. I'm going to go ahead and make that loop, and I'm going to put my string through the middle of the loop and then pull it so that it's as close to my fabric as possible so that I can tie it nice and tight. Once I have a knot there, I can add another one if I want, although one should probably be fine. I'm adding another loop, adding another knot, trying to make it so it's nice and close to my fabric, and voila! Now I can trim my string so it's not so long, and I am set with my tapestry. All right, there's my stitching. You can see my project. Now I still have some space on the end, and I kind of want some of these little hairy things to show up. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling off some of these strings so that I have this like fringe going on the bottom of my project here. I think it'll look kind of cool to have some of those little fringes showing along the bottom edge. So you can kind of just pull off some of the horizontal pieces of string to get that kind of fringe look there. Very nice. You can make it as long or as short as you would like. Okay, next up, I wanted to have something to hang my project with, so I thought it would be nice to put some popsicle sticks along the top edge. Before I do that, I want to add a little bit of decoration to the sticks. I'm going to use a Sharpie. You could use markers, paint, whatever you've got around. And I'm just going to add a design. I think I'm going to do a zigzag first with this turquoise color. You could even color it different rainbow colors, whatever you think will make your stick look interesting to look at. I'm going to grab another color. Let's maybe do this blue here, and I'm going to add some dots in between my little zigzags here just to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. It's kind of like the stitches of my string and the beads. This will be the front of my project, and I want to put it right here. I'm also going to use this extra string here as kind of like a little hanger. So I'm going to put some knots on the end of the string just to kind of help it not move as much. Since you guys are awesome at knots right now, this should be no problem. I'm going to add a knot to that end, and I'm going to loop this around my fingers, put the ends through the hole, and make a knot for this end as well. There we go. Now I'm going to glue this first one. Now I have hot glue and that works really well. If you don't have hot glue, liquid glue would work great for this too. You'll just have to let it dry for a little bit longer than you would the hot glue. I'm going to put a line of glue on the back of my stick, and then I'm going to place my project along the glue, press down so I get a nice bond from the fabric to the stick. Now I'm going to put my 2 strings, the ends of my string, on the back of my project, and I'm going to put a line of glue along the back as well, making sure to go over my strings too. My back stick will be glued right on top of that, kind of making like a stick sandwich. You can see there. And I'm just going to add a little bit of extra glue, especially right next to the string part, just to make sure that that's nice and solid. So I'm putting some extra glue in there with my hot glue. You could do this with the liquid glue as well, and then let it dry. If you want, you can put your name on the back so we know it's your project. I'm going to go ahead and write Ehlke on mine so we know who made this beautiful work of art, this stitching masterpiece. And there you have it, stitching and beadwork, the whole works. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. Here it is up close and personal so you can see all of the different stitches. And I hope you can have fun creating more projects like these in the future. Maybe think of making shapes with stitches or animals with stitches. All kinds of fun. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.